I grew up in Worcester Park, which is technically in Surrey, but it's Zone 4. So it's sort of like, it's like Surrey, South London. It's one of these weird things. Apparently, back in the day, we voted, not we, but someone voted in their infinite wisdom to make us Surrey rather than London. And whoever those people are, I would like strong words with them, because we would have been better being in London. Because there's things like my dad's over the retirement age, but he doesn't get a bus pass or a rail pass, the free travel stuff.
Don't you get them everywhere?
You don't get that in Surrey. You get a bus pass one, but you don't get it for the trains or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, it costs a fortune.
Right? So because someone wanted the title of Surrey, we don't have access to all those things. So yeah, so I grew up there. I was born here in Greenwich Hospital, which is obviously not, it doesn't exist anymore. And then I lived in Eltham with my mum, and so my family, my nan and granddad, this is all on my mum's side, they had a house in Plumstead, like near Shooters Hill.
Yeah, so very local.
Road, yeah, around that area. And like my mum's grave is in, I can't remember which one it is, but it's like local around here. So yeah, and like I'd come, my brother's got a different dad to me, and his dad's family and stuff are from around here. So like if I see my brother, then we go to like Greenwich Park, which is obviously literally around the corner. And it's mad being here and working here, having a show here, and knowing that I have the vaguest of like childhood memories of the park, and I sort of have in relation, I can think of like, oh yeah, I would have seen like Nan and Granddad there, or so it's like I didn't grow up here, but I have this weird like Greenwich tie. Obviously on my passport it says Greenwich, and you're like that. It's just like this. It's just such a surreal thing to have. Yeah, and it's like there's tiny little things. I think it's like quite weirdly emotional. Like my mum and my dad weren't together very long, so I think they maybe split up when I was like 3 or something. And but I know that they went on a date to the cinema in Greenwich, and there's something quite nice about that. I'm like, and doing like the show because it's so personal. It's like, oh, nice.
When did you realise you wanted to perform?
Ooh, I don't. It's a really weird thing, that, isn't it? Because people I think some people point to like a certain moment. I think that's just the thing that I liked, and I think it's like the only thing my dad always says, like, it's the only thing you only showed any interest in or any commitment to. And it's true. It's like at school all the way through, those are the only things that I really wanted to do. There's one visual point I do remember. So when I was at primary school, we were doing James and the Giant Peach, and we were performing an extract from it. There's the two sisters, Aunt Spike and Aunt whatever her name is, and they're sitting having lemonade and they're doing this thing. And I was performing it with another girl, and I said, I must have been in about year 3 or 4, and I said to my teacher, we need to have some lemonade, because it said it in the script. And she was like, you just mime, gave us some glasses. And I was so convinced that miming drinking was going to be ridiculous. And it's honestly like, I look back and I can like feel like the sort of like anger and outrage that she just wouldn't understand. And then I had a huge coughing fit. Like, I went so red and I had this huge coughing fit, and she had to go to the first aid room to get me some water in a glass, and I had it. And I like sipped it, and then I like carried on with the show. And she was like, did you fake a coughing fit to get your water? And I was like, no. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It worked. And it was so much better. Who wants to mime things? I would just... So I think probably around there I had some idea that I was taking it maybe a little bit too seriously, so it had to go somewhere.
Where did you train? Did you train?
Yeah, I went to East 15.
Okay.
I did a master's there.
Yeah.
So because I went to Bath Spa and did theatre and history after my sixth form. So again, it's that thing of, I think I sort of like knew I wanted to do performing. I went to like an ex-grammar school. It wasn't actually a grammar school, but they sort of lived off that ex-whatever thing. I don't know that they would have liked the idea of me pursuing something that was an academic that wouldn't look good for their records. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't something that was overtly talked about. You know, no one was talking about, oh, you could go to drama school or you could go to, you know, the Brits. I don't think I would have done very well at the Brits, and I don't necessarily know that I would have got into drama school there because I hadn't found my sort of confidence in it. But it's the fact that those things weren't even being spoken, or like National Youth Theatre. I had to find out a lot on my own, and so it was the standard route. You go to uni, you go to school, you go to uni, you get a job, and yeah. So I did. Bath Spa was actually very good, considering it's not like a standard drama school. It was really. They taught me a lot. I came out of that with a lot of passion, but I also came out with that general fear of, oh, you've got to get a job. So I just came home and immediately I went into like recruitment, and I worked in marketing, and then I got to the point where I was like, I actually hate all of this. I've got
Sounds horrendous.
I mean, the recruitment was diabolical, but you know, I think I just sort of like coasted in it a bit, and then I just started auditioning for drama schools. I was like, I'm going, and I'm doing this. But I was a bit later than other people, so I've always felt in my acting career I'm a bit behind everyone and a bit older than everyone, which is an interesting thing to be thinking of, especially as a woman, because there's just certain things you can start to feel a bit, you know, back in.
So how was your family with that when you've took off for drama?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is like endlessly supportive. His biggest thing is he doesn't like to see me sitting on my arse doing nothing. If I'm doing something and I'm passionate about it and I'm going for it, then he's 100% behind me. He doesn't, you know, he didn't really particularly like me doing like the recruitment stuff and the stuff where he could see that like he's just coasting, just like sort of like not really going for something. So yeah, he's incredibly supportive about it all. I mean, we're incredible, like we're way too close as like humans, and we're very similar. So I think we fight and stuff, but we've got, yeah, he's just like, yeah, go for it. You know, like I mean, you've seen the show, there's like some interesting things in there, and he comes and he sees it, he watches it, he supports it. He's, you know, he's there, and I'm like, Dad, can I use the van to drive me to blah, blah, blah with whatever? He's like, yeah, okay. And I still live at home at my grand old age because I've decided to be an actor and there's no money in it. So,
but what got you? Would you like writing or acting? You should do both.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? Because so basically, I'd never been like a writer, and I think so. I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia, and it was late diagnosed. Although actually they talked about it in primary school, but there was a weird. Because I was in the 90s, there was such a stigma around it. Basically, someone told my dad that they thought I should be tested for dyslexia, and he spoke to me about it. And I said, no, I'm not doing that because I'm not thick. And I don't want to go on the thick table. And now I think back, I'm like, that is awful, isn't it? But that is how it was in primary school.
You kind of separate.
Yeah, and I was doing really well because I was able, interestingly, being an actor, to learn things by rote and do it for the exams. And yeah, so I just refused. I was like, I'm not doing that. And then it was only when I got to uni I got diagnosed. But I've always struggled, and I sort of thought that writing's that's not going to be something that's for me then. And I liked acting, I liked performing, I liked creating and devising. See, and like when I'd done the marketing work, that's creative, and I could write copy for things and. So yeah, so that kind of inspired me. But it was going to drama school. We were sort of taught, especially at East 15, you're taught, don't sit on your ass waiting for a call. Make your own work.
That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and that is that's where I started writing. Really, I just sort of tried to find my way of how I might write. I've not read any books on writing. I've not really studied any writers. I was lucky. I kind of found a way through this show of how I work as a writer, and I quite like writing from film, which is I've not seen anyone else do. I mean, I'm sure other people do it, but I made a conscious choice not really to look into how other people do it and to try and just find my own style. And like, so basically I'll take my phone out. When I was doing it for Sad Vents and Overshare, when I was creating them, I think, all right, I want to do a monologue on X, you know, whatever it is. I'll take my phone, I'll go out for a walk, and I will just monologue and record it in and around doing the task, so that I get interrupted by things, so that goes into the monologue. And I might have like a thought over here and see a bird in the tree or whatever and get distracted by it and then come back to the thing, but oh yeah, what I was talking about, blah, blah, blah. And I come home and then, and this is the harrowing process, I like watch it, and some of it's absolute shit and some of it's gold, and I take the bits that are good and then I sort of write and round for that. So that, I think, yeah, finding that there wasn't one standard way to write, that was like the unlocking bit, and then that helps me as an actor and a writer go hand in hand. Yeah, so both. I'm both now.
Like both.
Yeah.
How's your happiness levels these days?
Yeah, I mean, the horrors persist, and so do I.
I tell you, these few questions have come because I forgot I'd actually reviewed one of your The White Bear.
Yeah.
I just remember.
That was the first ever one.
Yeah, and I've read the review, and I couldn't remember it because the first paragraph ends. It says, "You flashed up these two words, dead mum." I went, that kind of resonated
Oh,
because
yes, of
I was
course,
burying my mum in 5 days' time. So with so much on my mind, I don't remember. I remember seeing the show,
Yeah, no, of
but
course.
I always thought it was here. I see it.
No, it was at the White. But I remember because you said to me when you emailed about it, and you were like, and I was like thinking, oh fucking hell, sorry about that.
But that's why I couldn't be. I thought it was here, and I thought it was just a one-nighter.
Yeah.
Have you expunged all the bad people from your life?
Get them out. Yes, and some more as well. I have. Things exist and persist in the memories and the body and the emotions and all that sort of stuff. But yes, I have. It's been an interesting journey on that because obviously I had sort of like this individual who was hideous.
But Tony, was it?
Yes,
Tony?
it was, yeah. And then there was a new boyfriend who actually has gone. So it's been a really weird, interesting thing coming back to the script and redeveloping and being like, right, I'm taking that person out, I'm doing that there, I'm doing this there and doing that, and it's bizarre going back to stories.
Is it kind of therapy?
It's sort of
it's therapy.
yeah.
There's the problem because I've put it out to the world.
Yeah,
it's the problem. The world expects me to try and solve it. If I can.
I think it's definitely therapeutic, and I think every time I come back to it, it gives me sort of almost new therapy because I change and grow as a person, and so I perceive things to be they hit me in a different way, or I have different like experiences with them. So when I revisit things, you're like, oh yeah. Or like, for example, at the moment I'm doing a last bit of editing before I then go into rehearsals. But now I'm in the space of Greenwich. And so I've got my that connection, and I'm like, oh, how does that feel? And it's about to be Mother's Day. And that all those sorts of, and I'm a bit older. And I'm like, okay, how do I feel about these things? So, but it is therapy. And I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm like, hopefully one day I'll make money and it'll pay for my therapy bills and I will have the last laugh.
Hopefully. So the brain surgery.
Yes.
When did you realise there was something wrong? Did you realise, or did someone tell you there was something?
Well, I think everyone's always been curious about whether I have a brain or not. And so that was the first bit. No, so last year was a bit of a roller coaster, really. I kicked off the year. I put in an Arts Council bid, and I was like, "This is great, lovely." Got a new job. I'd broken up with a boyfriend, but it was fine. I was living my best life. And then I randomly, out of blue, went into the work that I was in and lost vision completely in my left eye. And I mean, like, gone.
What, overnight, or was it?
No, I mean, like we'd be sitting here and just suddenly it went at the office.
Scary.
Terrifying. And then I went into hypoglycemic shock. And I was shaking and cold and obviously quite distressed because I was like, I'm blind then. Like, what the hell? I was like, I think I should get the train home. One of my work colleagues was like, no, let's call the ambulance. And so we called 111 because I was being a bit proud about it all. And they were like, yeah, we're sending you an ambulance. So they came over and they sent me to hospital, got everything sort of like looked at that day, and they couldn't understand what had caused it. My eyesight came back, but then the next day I had like this huge headache, and again I had this sight issue, but then it was like in both eyes, and it was very scary. Yeah. Anyway, eventually I was referred to. I'd had like this feeling of like almost like, I don't know, numbness down the face. So obviously you think strokes, right? So they sent me to a day trip to the hospital where I remember my mum being at, which was quite horrible, on her birthday, if you can imagine, to have like MRI scan and the full works to go and see what was going on. And the doctors, they sort of sat me down. I mean, I had a complete meltdown on the ultrasound thing because I just sort of sat there and I was like, what's going to happen to my life? And my dad was there, he was very good, and the doctor sat me down and goes, well, it's not strokes. I'm like thinking, great. They go, but, and I was like, no. And they found this huge grade 3 arachnoid cyst in my brain. It's like massive over here. It takes like a third of my brain, my skull capacity, whatever up. And they found a cavernoma on the other side. And so they then referred me to neurosurgery and neurology, and I had a few more episodes actually, and they sort of said, if you're sick, you come to hospital immediately. And there was one day when I was just sick like 6 times, like rapidly out of nowhere, and got this huge headache. So they took me into hospital, had a CT scan. They were just making sure nothing was like they can rupture basically the cysts, or they can push down on things, and you don't want that to happen. And the other thing they do is they cause pressure in the head. And if they can cause the brain to like shift, I have a bit of a midline shift. You don't want a huge one, obviously, because, well, it's just not great. So they did what they call an ICP, so intracranial pressure monitor. What they do is they take you in, they drill into your skull, and they put in a probe, and they attach you to like this box. And then you have to stay at the hospital for X number of days, and it monitors the pressure in your brain. And that was scary as hell. And I had to go under for it, and obviously someone drilled into my head, which is just ridiculous to think about. And it was terrifying. They discovered that the pressure is a little bit high, and potentially I might have to. I've sort of put things off a little bit because I wanted to do this play. I was like, I'm doing the bloody play. I put my life on hold. And but I think probably at the end of the year I'll either have to have just another monitor to see what the pressure's doing, or they will go in and they'll have to do fenestration, which basically means that they drill in and they sort of make a hole in the cyst and drain the fluid into the brain system and hope that alleviates the pressure.
So
so it's
that's going to be a great show next year.
I know, me and my cyst. I know, it's so funny. Well, it's not funny, like, it's obviously very traumatising, but the dark humour has been a gift, which is something that...
This is the next question. Look, has putting your heart and soul on a plate helped you?
Yeah. I think it's the only way to get by and through life.
You've made a show of all your problems.
Exactly. I've gone, Christ, things keep happening, and people, I remember like when I was even like a teenager and stuff, people would be like, God, your life's like EastEnders or something. And I'd be like, I'm not just so we know, I am quite dramatic, and I, you know, if I have relationships, sometimes they can be quite high octane and whatever, but in the main, most stuff comes to me and causes drama. I didn't ask my mum to die when I was a kid. I didn't ask to have the brain stuff. I didn't, you know, like all of these things. And I'm like, you know, people ask me, how do you write that? And I'm like, honestly, I just go about my life and madness happens and I just write it down. And I try and find the humour, because that's how I cope with life. I think I get that from my dad. He's got like very, very dry and dark sense of humour. Mine's maybe a bit darker, but he's very dry. But I think that's just how we've learned to be able to exist in this world. And it is helpful because, you know, like the day when I went in to actually get that neurosurgery happen, I was absolutely terrified. And the only way that I could possibly get through that is to make jokes and to be saying to people, oh, I'll just write this down for the next play. You know, and that, it does help. It makes things more, yeah, you can process it more. You can have a laugh. You laugh or cry, or you can do both. But there must be laughter.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, for the audience as well.
Exactly. And I'm not interested in, I think that's very, very important for shows like this. I don't want anyone to come to my show and be like, oh my God, she just, for an hour, told me all of the horrors of her life. They need to laugh. And I think some of my message is to be like, it's okay to laugh. I want to encourage people to, because I've noticed some audiences are a bit like, oh my God. And I speak to them after and they're like, I found it hilarious, but I didn't want to laugh out loud because I felt like I couldn't. And I'm like, this is me encouraging you to do that. Like, some of it is funny.
And I kind of, there'll always be at least one thing in it that everyone can relate. So I go, oh yeah. Yeah, that's I'll get that bit.
Yeah,
you know.
And that's what, and I try.
But once you start ticking them up, they go,
I've got that.
I'll be doing one of these plays next year.
Well, maybe I should have like a little bingo card at the end, and people can rate how highly they scored. Yeah.
So, what has changed for this show?
Well, I have done some developments in the script. I'd say about 40 or 50% of the script is new, different. 40 or 50% is probably new, and then there's on top of that things that have been edited, tightened, changed. You know, for the moved around for the storyline and stuff. I think that people will find. It's still not going to be very beginning, middle, end. You know, it's not going to be one of those plays. I'm not making a well-made play kind of thing. But this will maybe give you slightly more through line to anchor onto. And I think that comes with, I've worked with someone who's helped me with dramaturgy this time. And that person, Lizzie, is also my associate director. So, Lizzie does incredible work, like assisting on like West End shows and things. And she's good. I met her and I was like, oh, I can trust you with my show. You know, with this, it needed to be a person that really got me, and I felt safe getting advice from and stuff. So she's helped me understand a lot of like, okay, what can we, if you want to be mad and colour outside of all of the boxes, can we help the audience by just giving them a thread that there's always something to pin to? And she's helped me sort of understand some of the things that I wanted to do, but as you know, as I said, I haven't researched how to write ever, so she's been able to be like, what you're trying to do is this, and I can give you the tools to help you to get there, you know. So that's been really helpful. Yeah, so and I've also got at this time as well, I've got Rachel Thomas, who is my associate producer and my support worker. I've not had a support worker before, and it's a luxury to have that in the Arts Council bid. she basically makes sure that I don't go insane. She does things like today, she's like, there will be therapy. You will be having therapy alongside doing this run. Yes, and as I should do, I'm about to go through the most traumatic events of my life. We need to find safe ways of going on stage, off stage, you know, all of that sort of thing. She helps me with making sure that I actually take a break. She helps me also with like the practical things because I have got dyslexia and dyspraxia. She also helps with making sure that I have some organisation in my life and things. And she, again, we trained together at East 15 actually. So I know her personally as a friend, but also she's great at her job at that. I think that the team is very helpful and has helped shape some of the changes. But yeah, I think also the technology, what I can do and where I can put the phone and try not to give too many things away, but there's fun ideas that I had for the White Bear that I couldn't afford to do because I didn't have the time to play around with them, and now I have. And like my set designer, I've been able to give like an actual proper budget to. So I think it's gonna hopefully be one of those shows people come to, especially in that studio space, and they go, "What the hell is this doing in this tiny little studio?" I think people will again be thinking, "This should maybe be. This is big," and I like that, but in a dingy little space. But though, yeah, all of those things are different stuff, and the story. Yeah, there's some things that I'm exploring in there this time, which I think will be very interesting points. And I'm calling out certain social things that happened without giving too much away that I think will be interesting talking points around. Yeah.
Good. So next one was, can this story still evolve? Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the thing about this, can it evolve, is I've actually been thinking about this because I've been thinking, obviously, the character, I wrote it as someone who's 30. Well, I wrote it when I was a little bit, like in my late 20s, but like I wrote it as a 30-year-old woman. And I've been thinking about this, I'm thinking, all right, I'm 33 now. There'll be a point when I can't sit on stage and be like, I'm 30, because people will look at me and go, you're not. I think I'm all right for a few years. But that's something. But I was thinking, it's actually really, the setup of the show and the episodic nature and the turning and telling tales actually is something that I think can grow and evolve and could potentially almost be like an evergreen changing thing through life, and might be, I have like this weird back of my mind thing of like, what if this is a show that I do once a year as I grow, that changes every year? Like, what if that is something that happens, that I incorporate different things and aspects that come in? Because I think, and the way I perceive things changes as well. So I think, I mean, there's definitely a change in this, because there's also, I've gone, right, I will put that story in that I kept out the last time. And that's, maybe enough time has passed where I'm able to put in certain stories that I wasn't able to put in because they were too close to the events and stuff, if you see what I mean. And so the more healing and growing I do, the more I can go, yeah, fuck it, I'm putting that one in. Let's see what people make of that story.
So what I was kind of thinking was, will the point come where, right, you can't keep doing that stuff, I've got to go and write a play?
And like another, yeah. Well, I think, so I was commissioned by Camden People's Theatre to write a new show. That was around the same time that I had neurosurgery. So,
and what, they gave you a theme, or they just give you
yeah, so they give me a fee in like a supporting week, which that I will be going back to do. I haven't heard from them when yet, but that will be, my sort of plan is to do Overshare in May, to potentially have a holiday, can you imagine? And then go and work on this next show, and then write to the Arts Council again and say, right, give me money to tour Overshare, because Overshare's only really been in London, and obviously it's been to Edinburgh, but I'd quite like to tour it. I really hate this idea that we gatekeep all theatre in London. I think it's a bit grim. There are people outside of the city centre who would like to see art and should have exposure to like new digital tech heavy extravaganzas, you know.
Couldn't you do something like, because I know this is in fits in with Mental Health Week, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Couldn't you do like kind of, because you don't need a big space, do you?
No, like literally tiny little small, like
so you can do kind of. You should get in touch with the Royal Bethlehem, and so there's a space there where it'd be perfect.
That's amazing. I hadn't thought about that at all.
Because if you only want, you kind of community centres or hospitals, where you just go and park your and as long as you've got some room for chairs.
They do. Well, then that's the thing, and I've made it a point of buying, which it's an affronted investment, but I bought my projector so that I can be the person who goes to the spaces that haven't got that equipment. But I've done that because I want to be able to bring it to spaces that you shouldn't be penalised just because you haven't got the event. Let me take that hit with the Arts Council so that I can just set up in a room and go, right, let's go.
Yeah.
So that's a really good idea. I need to have a little look at that.
I'll send you his contact, so you just say what's the chances. He'll be right up for it. How are rehearsals going?
Rehearsals start on the 14th of April, so I'm going to do 2 weeks of rehearsals. I did the R&D, so I've done 3 weeks in January, which was sort of like getting all of the new script changes, all that sort of stuff, and working with Lizzie, working with Rachel, just finding out taking all the madness in my mind and putting it into a practical way. And it was good. We sort of did like a sort of stagger through at the end, so I sort of know what the shape might look like. But rehearsals begin 14th of April. I'm excited and terrified because I have to be very strict, because I'm producing the show and doing the marketing and stuff and the acting and the writing and everything else. I have to this time be very strict about being like, right, when I go into rehearsals I'm only an actor. I can't do any more writing, I can't do any more press or any marketing or anything else, which is why I'm really doing it up front now here. And then obviously I have a team like Rachel, she is incredible, and so I can then give over to her. My issue is, again, I'm here as a marketing officer, right? So that's because it's my bag, I have to be strict about relinquishing, which is hard, but I will. And I'm going to just try and smash into rehearsals as just actor brain, not writer, not attack the script anymore, nothing else, and just do that bit. I think. Do you know what? After Edinburgh, you do this show for a month, and it teaches you that you really can find it in you somewhere to pull it out the bag. I also, White Bear, we had so many things go wrong before we opened.
Yeah.
Tech things were going wrong, lighting things were going on. The opening night that we did, I had 5 minutes of preparation. I literally, it's just the magic of show, isn't it? It just will happen because it has to happen. So I think that's what I'm holding on to. I just pray for no more extra drama in my life.
Well, just record it for the next one.
Yeah.
It's going to go on forever and ever.
Yeah.
That's all my questions. Anything you'd like to add, Eleanor?
I think, I'm really keen for this show. Like, the reason that I've done it for 3 weeks, because I want to see what that what that looks like. And in London, I've had quite good success, I think, in London when I've done it. But the maximum I've done it for, I think, is 4 or 5 days. And I want to see if I can really reach the crowds. Theatre people, I think, will come anyway. People are emerging level of circuit. If they hear about the show, or if they knew about Sad Events, or people who know about the Offies or whatever, I think they will come because they'll be interested. My core thing, I'd like to get people in the theatre who don't think theatre's for them. I've always thought this, especially with this show. I'd like people who, because all of my shows are relaxed, so you can, because obviously you use your phone and you're allowed to take pictures and you're allowed to take videos, and we're incorporating more messaging with me in the show this time. it's not, you know, you don't miss out if you don't do it, but if people want to, then they can be sending me jokes and stuff like that whilst I'm dancing around talking about my dead mum, which is ridiculous in itself, but that is how social media works, right? And I think that is like a really useful tool to get theatre etiquette-y warriors, people who think, oh my god, what if I don't dress right or talk right, or how do I not? I want to get those people in. Everyone who knows theatre will come to the theatre, but the only way that we make it sustainable and we get diverse audiences in is to be like, come into this, experience it in this way. Stand up, walk out if you want, I don't care. Have a little scroll on your phone, I don't care. I'm going to carry on doing my show. It's all going to be fine. And maybe they'll come and they'll be like, oh, theatre's alright. So I think that's one of the things I'm really trying to, like, I'm reaching out to a lot of like influencery kind of people to try and get them to come and see the show, to get them to talk about it on their channels, because I hope that they've got a different audience to me, and hopefully they can bring newbies in. I had it once when I did the vaults. There's this one girl who I know, she was like, I've never been to the theatre before, your show's the first show that I've ever seen, and she was like, it was nice, I'd do that again. And I was like, that's it, that's for me.
But when she goes to another thing,
yeah, I know.
Hold out.
Yeah, she'd be like, hold on, that is not.
I want to film this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't take any responsibility for that. That's it. They're not in my show. It's not my problem. But yeah, I think like some of that. I think just really, I really want to reach the people who I think the show is for. You know, I'm trying to work with the colleges and stuff and see if I can get some of the students. Obviously, there's an age issue there, not very young, but like trying to see if I can get some of that.
Well, there's lots of mental health problems. I think it's doubled or something since COVID or something.
It's bad.
And so some of those groups or each university will have some kind of support
like society
kind of department.
and
you know, where and reach out to them.
Yeah.
Greenwich right here, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think like so that's what we've been compiling a list of all the places to reach out to, because I just think that it's also another thing of I did some workshops in a school actually as part of the last showing, and my sort of thing was I was trying to teach kids how to use social media for quote unquote the good, because technically I made a whole show out of social media, so it can't be all bad. And I basically was teaching them how to write monologues the way I write monologues and use it for filming and editing and stuff like that. And I sort of think like there's so much toxicity on there, but I think we're not going to ban social media. It's not going anywhere. So we might as well try and educate people to be able to use it in a better, more mindful way. And I think that's definitely something I'd really like that message to get out there. I also as well, I'd love people to see it and be inspired to be able. I've not had huge, like vast quantities of money behind this. And I think that the concept, especially the streaming thing, I mean, the West End's only just started doing it itself, and I've been doing it since 2020. And I'd love people to think, oh, okay, we can do it. We don't just have to have one chair in a black box. You can be creative and find like these mad out there ideas, and also maybe hopefully show theatre to take a risk. This theatre is very good at taking a risk on emerging artists. Very, very good and supportive. I would argue that the theatres in London that should be doing that have stopped. But it does mean that my level and the ones that are even greener are getting completely lost. Because we're not a dead cert to make money, we're not getting programmed. But if we don't get programmed, we can't make work and showcase work and stuff. I don't think there's another theatre in London that would have given me a 3-week run in their space. Greenwich Theatre have done that, and they've been very nurturing and supportive. And I think that's like we just need to do that, because otherwise how do you get new in? You don't and we all drop out.
You'll be watching the same old Shakespeare, the same
right
old...
and there's only so many times you can do. So yeah, I think like some of that, just inspiring a bit of like new edgy, really leaning into that. And yeah, I'm hoping that people use their phones more in this show. I'm really trying to like plug that and show that people can use that, because when people have, they've really liked it. and they've seen like, you know, like the jokes and stuff. When I come off stage, I look through all of the messages that people sent me, and I'm like, because I will ask people like, what funeral song would you have, and I'll make them pick between like Burn Baby Burn and Disco, you know, like, and all of that, and people are doing that, but whilst I'm on stage talking about something really dark and morbid, and it adds that like new level. Yeah, I just want people to come.
Yeah. That's it, we get the message out there.
Thank you very much.